Everyone agreed that the best way to end the terrible war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine is to conclude a peace agreement that will put an end to the war, and not just a ceasefire agreement. President of the USA wrote this in his social network. Great and very successful day in Alaska. The meeting with the President of the Russian Federation Putin went very well as the late-night telephone conversation with the President of Ukraine Zelensky and various European leaders, including the Honorable Secretary General of NATO. Everyone agreed that the best way to end the terrible war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine is to conclude a peace agreement that will put an end to the war, and not just a non-stop ceasefire agreement. President Zelensky will arrive in Washington, in the Oval Office, on Monday afternoon. If everything goes well, we will schedule a meeting with President Putin. This can save the lives of millions of people. The President of the USA wrote on his social network. Earlier, President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he had a lengthy and meaningful conversation with U.S. President Donald Trump after the meeting of the U.S. and Russian leaders in Alaska. He noted that Ukraine supports Trump's proposal for a trilateral meeting between Ukraine, America, and Russia, and also said that he would visit Washington at Trump's invitation to discuss the details of ending the war. Ukraine once again confirms that it is ready to work as productively as possible for the sake of peace. President Trump informed me about his meeting with the Russian leader, about the main points of the conversation. It is important that America's power influences the development of the situation, Zelensky said. He noted that Ukraine supports Trump's proposal for a trilateral meeting between Ukraine, America, and Russia, since key issues can only be discussed at the level of leaders. Zelensky also said that he would visit Washington at Trump's invitation. I plan to discuss all the details of ending the killings, ending the war with President Trump in Washington on Monday. Thank you for the invitation. He also stressed the importance of Europeans being involved at all stages to ensure reliable security together with America. We discussed positive signals from the American side regarding participation in ensuring Ukraine's security. We continue to coordinate our positions with all partners, Zelensky added. U.S. President Donald Trump said, "Some great progress was made during high-stakes talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the war in Ukraine, but neither leader offered specific details on the trajectory of the war." According to Associated Press, Trump said, "Many points were agreed to, with just a very few remaining," and he told reporters he will speak with European leaders and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky soon. Putin said the two leaders had reached an understanding, but neither offered further details on Ukraine's future. Trump's allies have cast the U.S. president as a heavyweight negotiator who can find a way to bring the slaughter to a close. Trump has threatened very severe consequences if Putin does not agree to stop the war after the summit.
Well,
thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound, and I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Ratcliffe, thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here, and I think, you know, everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time, and we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax that made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant. But we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, who I know in many cases, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good, productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Russian President Vladimir Putin faced a tough question from a reporter upon his arrival in Alaska, where he is expected to attend a key meeting with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. Standing on the tarmac together with Trump, Putin was asked a question: "Will you stop killing innocent people in Ukraine?" Putin, however, pretended not to hear it. The two leaders left the tarmac with Putin joining Trump in his car. The two men will hold talks in Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska at around 11 a.m. local time, to discuss ending the bloodshed in Ukraine.
Mr. Putin, did you underestimate Ukraine? President Putin, will you stop killing civilians? President Putin, how can the U.S.